Today I'm going to talk a little bit about algebra because I haven't done so in my recent videos, which have been more about film and protagonists and various other things relating to grades and other things like that. Algebra is ancient. The word algebra goes back to the Middle East, Algebra, named after Algebra. But really, mathematics is older than our written understanding of mathematics. Algebra and mathematics go way, way back. If you think about counting at the very early stages of human development, there probably was no counting because people just sort of looked at things and thought, well, there's more in that pile than there is in that pile. What's the point of counting it? But as people got grew more sophisticated, then eventually things like trade developed, and in that exchange, probably things had to be counted or numbers had to be developed. The number zero in that process was a big, giant, huge leap for philosophy, for people in trying to understand life. Why? Because when you're thinking about numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4 is like a concrete number forward. And the idea of zero, that you would put a number to something or a name to something that doesn't exist, would have been a giant concept, as would have been negative, because the idea that you have 1, 2, 3 whatever's, chickens or clubs or whatever it is kind of intuitive, and that's why kids learn. They learn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 first. Then zero comes along, and negative numbers don't really happen for a while. So those are just some points about numbers. In the midst of all this, you have rational and irrational numbers and the dreaded fraction, which are really, I think it's worth it to just really focus in on that and overcome the dread of fractions, because really what they are is just a fraction of a number. 1/6 is just a part of 1, and you've learned this before, but I think it's when you're adding them, you just have to remember the denominators are the same. And sometimes people confuse the rules for adding and multiplying, and just good to practice that and get that down, because it comes up all the time in algebra. Actually, it creeps back in and you have to deal with it. So it's good to just deal with it and then really learn it. Just know how to add them, subtract them, which is similar, and then multiplying and dividing, which is similar. So that's it. There are some processes that the class goes through in terms of how to submit assignments. The philosophy, though, is basically this. Your homework is your journey. In fact, your work is your journey. And as we learned earlier, the best way to learn something is not to be told what it is, it's to own it. It's to understand the process that you went through, and then to explain it to someone else, telling a story. So between classes, you go through a math story. You might struggle with a skill. We use Khan Academy. In the old days, it used to be a textbook, a big thick textbook, and you do homework questions and you look in the back for the answers. So you could, and if you wanted to cheat, you probably could. Sometimes the book would give you only odds, and then the teacher would give you evens, so you couldn't. But it was debatable as to whether that was really useful, because it was useful. It's useful for students to be able to see the mistakes they make and then correct themselves. And that's the process of learning. That's the journey. Because, you go through something and then you want to go back and read the book or watch a video to understand it better, and then try again and then get better. Does it matter how many times you do it? No, it really doesn't, because all it is about, what it's all about is just for you to learn. And does it matter whether you do it 3 times or 4 times and Johnny Smith does it twice and Elizabeth does it only once? No, it really doesn't matter. In the end of the day, you all have learned that skill and we all move forward. That's all that matters. We're like a tribe moving forward. And that's all we got to do, is stay together and encourage each other and help each other. But really, the main thing is you own your learning. So the reason I have you put your story into Google Classroom in the notes is because I can interact with you there. It's like in the old days, we could get a paperback and the teacher would write on it. You could write back and say, hey, I don't agree, or you missed this one. It's kind of like that. And so I'm looking for those comments, of course, to score too, but it's good to hear, oh, I got 1 out of 5 the first time I did this, but then I watched the video, I reviewed the notes from class, I did it again, I got 3 out of 5. I was really sick of it, and I really had a lot of other homework, but I thought I'd try it again after sleeping on it. And then I got 5 out of 5. I'm really proud of myself. I'm glad I did it. That's great. That's a story. You put it in there. I record all that, and I understand that you're taking ownership of your learning. So that's the bottom line. You reporting it or talking about it is you recounting the story is the learning process. And it brings together different parts of the brain, not only the mathematical, analytical side of the brain, but also your storytelling capabilities and your life capabilities to talk, to speak, to communicate about your learning process, and then therefore to own it. So that's a very important part of this class and learning in general. And maybe if you haven't sort of figured that out, please do put those scores in there, and please do write those comments, and it's a big part of what we're doing. I hope that helps a little bit of orientation. I'm going to be showing you some slides that will help you in the process of navigating both Khan Academy and Google Classroom to make sure you see how that works, and I give you some examples as well. So hopefully that all helps, and we can continue our learning journey together. See you in class.